Howdy, welcome back to Brew Vision. Today we're going to start talking about that ancient German Gruit ale called Mumme. And it's going to be a partial boil, partial mash brew in a bag beer. Today we'll go over the recipe. It's for 5 or 6 gallons, I guess, depending on what ABV you want to wind up with. It says use Northern European beans in the recipe. And there's so many of them, it doesn't really say. I thought maybe green beans. But my initial guess was Great Northern beans, so you simmer a pound of those for 20 minutes before you add that to the mash of 4 ounces of crisp chocolate malt. It's an English chocolate malt. And a pound of malted oats. This will be the first time I've ever used malted oats. I usually use flaked. And 1 pound, 11.2 ounces Weyermann's pale wheat malt. And 3 pound, 8 ounces of Weyermann's pale malt. In the mash, it says to try to stabilize the mash at 150. I might even go for 153 just to give it a little more body and unfermentables for flavor and color. It'll also use two smack packs of Y yeast number 1275, Thames Valley Ale yeast. And now here's some of the, I got some of the things right here that I bought online for the Gruit part. And in place of pennyroyal, which was a spearmint substitute, I just got a 1/4 pound of spearmint and only used 7 grams, but it's dry, so 7 grams would be a pretty good amount. And 15 grams of blessed thistle. So that's what that looks like. And two ounces of elderflowers. That's the dried flowers and little pods and everything, I guess, all put together in the bag here. That's supposed to be good. And it uses, I'm going to use 1 ounce of star anise in place of the sundew, which I cannot get. 2 ounces of sweet gale in the boil. Now these go in the rest of these go in the secondary 4 days after fermentation starts. I might just put it in a nylon bag in primary. That's up to you either way. So the secondary is 2 ounces of elderflowers, 1 ounce of the star anise for the sundew, 4 grams of cardamom, and 7 grams of black tea in place of the betony, which is a black tea substitute. A lot of plants were just substitutes for other things that were herbs, teas, etc., which were more expensive. 7 grams of borage, which some say was only to be used as a topical. It'll poison you if you get it inside you, which is bullshit. I used to grow borage. It tastes like cucumber, and the Germans love the seeds, supposedly, in bread, but you could eat the flowers, the leaves, the stalk, which has those little hairy filaments on it, capillaries, that you have to remove first, but I digress. And in place of Avon's root, 7 grams of cloves, 7 grams of marjoram, 7 grams of wild thyme, and of course the 15 grams of the blessed thistle. And I should mash for 1 hour, 150 to 153, including the beans that you already simmered for 20 minutes first. And with that is about 2.4 gallons of spring water for the amount of grains to be mashing. And I like to, then I would batch sparge in 1.5 gallons of spring water, since I use the same 5-gallon kettle I started with. So that gives me about 3.5 gallons for the boil. And the 1.5 gallon sparge would be at 168 degrees Fahrenheit for 10 minutes. And since I use nylon bags that stretch over the lip of the kettle, I could use my paddle to stir it with to get the goodies, more goodies out of it, or in the mash to break up dough balls and evenly wet it. So as I said, you let it ferment for 4 days, and then you take another, like say a 2-gallon nylon fine mesh bag that I've got, I'll show you when I go to do it, to put all these Gruit herbs and spices and whatnot in. And you put that in there and leave it to ferment out completely. They say at least a week, but your results may vary, of course. And then once you bottle it or keg it, you gotta let it age for at least 2 weeks, but that's probably gonna wind up being 3 or 4 weeks before it's carbonated and conditioned out to where it tastes good and all of that. I stuck together some of the spices, a couple of the herbs and stuff. Instead of cardamom, I picked up coriander seed. Oops. So Mama's got something else she can cook with, unless I make a wheat. Check my timer for the memory card. Okay, we're getting close. So I'll list out the recipe after I get done yakking here. But I took out a lot of these plants because, as I said in the previous video, they're native to Europe. Like that fir inner bark they used to use as a soup thickener in medieval times, but it's most likely they were using it in this beer to act like whirlflock or something like that, so I'll just use whirlflock. I'm leery about the beans. They might get some starch haze from that unless I get good conversion. We just won't know until we do it. So I guess that's all I can tell you right now for this Mumme Gruit ale. Some people were interested in seeing the recipe for it, so I thought I'd do part 1 here to explain that to you. So, Lord willing, the creeks don't rise. We'll see you next time.